Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to talk about Black Sabbath on this video. Super stoked because I was watching the Black Sabbath back to the beginning. You know, the last show yesterday, of course, like many of you, some people got it on live stream. I was able to check it out on YouTube yesterday. Then I posted that link on Facebook and a few of my friends saw it. And then the rest of my friends that saw it later, the link, went to go there and it was gone. So apparently they've removed the show from YouTube, which is kind of wild. Wonder why they put it out in the first place on there. I don't know. But that was a pretty cool performance, albeit short. But hey, man, we got to give it up to the Ozman for doing what he could, albeit his health conditions. What a stand-up performance, man. Even though he was sitting down, and very respectfully so. And you know, like someone said, man, ageism is a bitch, man, and it's not cool. And just because a guy's sitting down, he still did the job, and he's still the Prince of Darkness, and he did a killer job. So did Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, and, of course, Geezer Butler. But we're going back to a year where they said it was the last Sabbath tour ever. It was even called The End. So we went thinking, never going to see these guys on a stage together again. Now, granted, it was only Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, and Tony Iommi, minus original drummer Bill Ward. But we thought it was literally the end. But like many rock bands like Kiss and other bands, I think Motley Crue, you think it's the end of the road kind of tour, but then there's always something else that comes afterwards, which, hey, that's a blessing, but it's, you know, it gets old when you think that it's the end. But hey, man, yesterday was the end for Black Sabbath, and we're going to go back to 2016 and talk about the End Tour. It was at Ridgefield, Washington's Sunlight Supply Amphitheater. The show took place in the state of Washington, September 13th, 2016. Hard to believe it's been 9 years already, man. So I went to this show with my my wife Tracy and my youngest daughter Audrey, Tracy's daughter too, and we decided to go see Sabbath. We were excited, man. We're all big Black Sabbath fans. Of course, I'm a Sabbath fan from the 70s, Tracy from the 80s, and then of course Audrey whenever she got into them, probably the 90s or 2000s. But man, we went to the show. The place was packed. It's a very big outside venue, and we were like, didn't have the best seats, I'll tell you that, but they did have big screens around so you could see everything. But we were kind of making our way to the back in the grassy area so we could smoke the ganja, we thought. More on that later. I mean, come on, what's a Black Sabbath show if you smoke the ganja and indulge? You gotta smoke during Sabbath. When I was a teenager, man, I grew up on these Black Sabbath records, and I know many of you can relate, listening to the first Sabbath album. But for me, it was mostly Masters of Reality, Sabotage, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And then, of course, later on, the Dio years. But we won't go there right now in this video. And yes, I'm a fan of Sabbath with Dio. Hell yeah. So there's smoke on the stage. We're in the crowd. It's finally getting dark, and we're hanging out. We got there. It was still light out. We were hanging out for a while. And then it gets dark. And then all of a sudden, the first song, this creepy music starts, right? And it's all smoky. And the band rises out of the stage like they were like on these little elevators or something. Like they all have their own little teleportation elevator that came up out of the stage, or some kind of illusion, or it was actually out of the stage, but it was so badass. Smoke is everywhere, and all of a sudden there were the guys, man. Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Ozzy Osbourne, you know. And they looked great. They were all dressed in black, but Ozzy had a shirt on that was all sparkly with like glitter built into it. So when he moved certain ways, it was still a long sleeve black shirt, but it was sparkly and just badass. Very fitting for Ozzy. And Tony Iommi had looked like a gold, possibly a gold cross hanging down on his black outfit, which was super cool looking. Geezer Butler had his cross on, dressed in black, and it was great to see those dudes. It was a bummer that Bill Ward wasn't there. Of course, it's a very controversial subject amongst, you know, Sabbath fans, because he's been shafted quite a bit, Bill Ward, and left out of a lot of things. And over the years, it's become a kind of a online media problem with people, you know, arguing about it. And yeah, I don't know, man. Ozzy was just a few years clean during this tour. and reports of his infidelity were all over the press with stuff going on with, I think, his hairdresser, and Sharon Osbourne kind of made him move out or something for a while, and for a while he disappeared and no one knew where he was at. He was like staying at some hotel by himself. MIA Ozzy. That was crazy, man. And of course, you know, not just the marriage woes, but, you know, this was 47 years since the very first Sabbath album came out. Think of all the stuff these guys had gone through in their lives. Tony Iommi at the time was facing third stage lymphoma. Third stage, man. And yet there they were on tour, man. You know, the Bill Ward versus Sabbath thing was very prevalent, though. The Bill Ward versus Ozzy thing, it was an ongoing public feud. Of course, they're saying, at the time, Ozzy was saying Bill Ward had health issues. Bill Ward came out and said, no, he did not have health issues. So I don't know what the root of all this stuff is. If anyone does know what the real root problem is between Bill Ward and everybody, leave a comment below, and please take a moment to subscribe to my channel and give it a like if you would. I'd appreciate that, man. So we're on the lawn, we're having fun, man, and we're thinking about smoking some ganja during the show. We're going to wait, though, until the first song, so we kind of go to a place where we don't see security, but we start realizing all of a sudden, this place is like anal, man. They have security like every 10 freaking feet. And everywhere you look, there was another security person. We're like, man, you guys could save a lot of money by getting rid of some of these people and letting us heads smoke our stuff, man. We're not hurting nobody, right? I'm sure they were selling booze. Maybe they weren't. Hell if I know. But I do have the set list here, and I made notes because I was able to go online and find a lot of videos for the actual show that I saw. It all came right back to me, man, so it was really cool. The stage was badass. The drum set had the old Black Sabbath logo on each of the bass drums. And did I mention who they had on drums? They had Tommy Clufetos on drums. Tommy Clufetos. He was cool looking, man. He had his shirt off, big old black beard, long black hair with the rag around his head, and he was very athletic looking. The dude was more than adept at being a great drummer. I'll have to give that to him for sure. He definitely added, you know, it's Black Sabbath, man. They're not just going to hire anyone to play with Black Sabbath. He was definitely kick-ass. They had these big screens on the very top of the stage above it. They had screens on the side of it. They had a big screen behind the band, which showed all kinds of killer images like flames and fire and all kinds of kind of neo-gothic stuff that would go with Black Sabbath, right? I was getting the goosebumps when the first song started. When the opening song started, it was apparent that we were going to be treated to the song Black Sabbath, which is the very first song on the very first album. Named after the Black Sabbath film starring Vincent Price, I believe. Man, it's one of my favorites, man. We all had goosebumps. There's the guys up there all in black. It was super dark out. We decided we were going to smoke out, man. We started walking to the very back, lit up a doobie. All of a sudden, these people are on our ass like flies on you know what. And it's just like, what the hell? They're like, no smoking. We're like, come on, man. Just turn your freaking back for 5 minutes and shut up. And we try to go somewhere else, and they were like, no smoking. It was very, very frustrating. We ended up firing up and just said we didn't care eventually, but I'll get to that. Anyway, Black Sabbath was giving me goosebumps. Do you remember the part where Ozzy's like, oh no, please God help me? It was just surreal, man. And the part where it says, Satan's sitting here, he's smiling. That part, and then Ozzy goes, ha, 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 ha. And the whole place just erupted because it was absolutely evil sounding. And Ozzy knew it, man. It was great, man. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that moment. So the bass was just killer with Geezer Butler strumming out the chords to Black Sabbath. Second song of the night was Fairies Wear Boots, one of my very favorites as a teenager. The crowd was absolutely great. People were singing along to every single song. People had their phones out, of course, and lighters. It was just sick, man. We were overwhelmed. The PA was great. You could hear the vocals very clearly. They went into the third song, After Forever. Yeah. We tried to smoke again, and these people kept coming at us. We're like, look, it's a Black Sabbath concert. You're driving me mental. Let me smoke some weed. And finally, after a while, we were able to sneak one of those doobies in, and we really enjoyed it because it was like, oh my God, I finally can enjoy this music because, You have to be a smoker to understand. I mean, it sounds like I'm some hopeless addict to something crazy, but the smoke enhances the music. It just does, man. It always has. Kind of like pizza toppings enhance pizza. I don't know, pizza and rock and roll, you know. Then they went into the Void. Love that tune from Masters of Reality, I believe. Love it a lot. It's one of my stoner classics. I was just in heaven. What can I say, man? Mr. Iommi up there with the tips of his two fingers that were, you know, he lost those tips of his fingers years ago when he had those fingertips, false fingertips made to be able to play guitar. And he had to alter the way he played and tuning and stuff like that to play his guitar. I love Tony Iommi, man. Then they went into a song I'd never seen him play, of course, Snowblind. Very killer. The crowd was lively. Ozzy's up there, I love you all. And during the middle of it, everyone's yelling, cocaine, dan, 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 dan. Yeah, everyone was singing along to that one for sure, man. There's one line of that song that hits me right here, man. The sun no longer sets me free. Wow, the sun no longer sets me free. Perfect song that an addict would probably be able to relate to. Absolutely. Iommi's guitar work again during the song was absolutely stellar. And Ozzy's like, you know, we went into the next song, which was War Pigs. And he's like, you guys feel like helping me sing along? And he said, quote unquote, you probably know the song better than I do. And all these sirens went off, man. There were like sirens going off everywhere in stereo. It was so freaking cool, panning back and forth. And then War Pigs, you know, one of their classic tunes. It was just killer. Ozzy's up there doing the sway thing like this, and everyone in the crowd started swaying and clapping their hands. And man, it was again like rock and roll heaven, man. War Pigs live. Then they went into Behind the Wall of Sleep with the original Wasp intro from the album, the first album. Just absolutely killer to hear Ozzy singing these tunes and those guys playing these songs. Then it was NIB with the Basically intro, the original doo-doo-doo. Anyway, I'm not going to try to karaoke myself into looking stupid. Worse than I already do. Yeah, NIB, badass tune, man. Hand of Doom was next, and Iommi ruled on that song, Hand of Doom. Never thought in a million years I would see Black Sabbath doing Hand of Doom. It was so good, man. The lyrics are intense. I felt like I was 16 again, listening and watching that one. Ozzy was so on key. He was singing every note perfectly, man, because I know that album inside out. It was just killer. Then they did Rat Salad, and of course, Tommy Clufetos on drums. He did a drum solo during the song, which was definitely respectable. Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, back to back. Heaven. Iron Man was next. The crowd started chanting, and Ozzy's up there, louder! And there's all these flames on the screens during this song. Everyone was singing along to Iron Man. It's just, no matter how many times you hear it, when you see it live with the original Cats, it's just like hearing it for the first time, man. It was beautiful. Then they went into Dirty Women. What a treat. Love that tune. I believe it's on the Sabotage album. Am I wrong? I don't know. Dirty Women, what a great tune. And then, of course, Children of the Grave with the Embryo intro, I believe, from Masters of Reality. Just a surreal experience for me to see those Cats up there doing that. Ozzy wasn't moving around a lot during the show, but he stood up at that mic and belted them out like there was no tomorrow. I'd seen him so many times in my life where he was just very energetic, but he was getting up there in age. He had some health issues. He was recently sober. I tell you what, you do that kind of stuff for decades on stimulants, it's a whole different ballgame when you're sober, man. So I commend him for being able to get up there. But without the stimulants, man, it's a little harder to run around and have the energy, because a lot of the energy that a lot of rockers have and had was false energy. It was energy created from booze or coke or opiates or whatever it might be, just the way it is. And I should know, because I was in that same boat. The first time I ever toured sober from 83 to 2010 was 2010. Totally sober, well, mostly. But I remembered everything, and I had more energy, and I thought, man, I used this stuff as a crutch all my life. Unbelievable. Live and learn, my friends. Live and learn. The encore of the night, it was well-deserved because the crowd was very noisy, very appreciative up there in Washington and Ridgefield. The last song of the night, guess what it was? Paranoid. Yeah. Great classic by Ozzy and the boys. Everyone was completely clapping and singing along. It was a big ending at the end, a big rock star ending for Paranoid. It was just like a really drawn out ending with the drums just killing it. The whole band was killing it. Geezer Butler on that bass, thundering, freaking one of a kind. And you know, Geezer Butler wrote most of the lyrics for Sabbath too, so I commend that guy for being not just one of the baddest bass players on the face of the earth, but for writing some of the lyrics that were there with us, for all of us during high school and growing up, and still today, because music being recorded and listened to at a later date, it literally is like a time capsule, as you know, and it's like going back in time, right? Hey man, that's about all I got. We did try to smoke weed a few more times at that show, and it was just like a no-go. What a buzzkill, man. Leave us stoners alone. Hey, man, I'm 59 years old. If I want to smoke a little weed, I will. Look, man, I appreciate you guys. I got more tales coming at you from the bottom of my underdog, black little heart. Cheers, and have a great week.